from our council meeting on October 25th, 2021. We have continued our council meeting to today, October 27, 2021. And if Leilani, if you need to read any thing in regards to the online meetings, please do so for the public.
We have no general public comment for the continued meeting since we took that on Monday night. However, members of the public may comment on agenda items by clicking the raise hand feature when staff prompts for public comment. You'll hear your name and receive 2 minutes. Members of the public may be able to speak once per item. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Looks like we lost the mayor.
Okay, sorry I got disconnected. Back online. I appreciate your patience. Some technological difficulties here. Welcome again for those of you that are watching for our continued City Council meeting. At this time, may we have roll call, please?
Buenaventura.
Present.
Dr. Rod.
Present.
Ms. Di Giovanni.
Present.
Mr. Sylvester.
Sylvester. Glenn Sylvester, present.
Ms. Manalo.
Present. Thank you very much. Now we are moving on to communications. Item number 14, approval of written response to grand jury report, building greater trust between the community and law enforcement via the Racial Identity Profiling Act, RIPA. And today we have Captain Christensen who will be presenting.
Correct. Good evening, Mayor Manalo, Vice Mayor Doss-McWall, and council members. Tonight, I'm presenting a response to a civil grand jury report titled Building Greater Trust Between the Community and Law Enforcement via the Racial and Identity Profiling Act. Following this public presentation and appropriate review of the attached draft response, City Council should provide direction to the city manager. Subsequently, the draft response will be finalized and sent to the Superior Court as requested. In addition, the final response will be placed on the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury website, and a copy will be filed in the Daly City office of the city clerk. Just for way of background, the Racial Identity Profiling Act, which is known as RIPA, came following the passing of State Assembly Bill 953 in 2015. California Police Department participation in the bill was implemented in waves based on agency size, with the largest agencies being the first to implement. Smaller agencies with sworn personnel between 1 and 333 officers, of which Daly City falls into, are the final wave and will be required to implement data collection and reporting beginning January 1st of 2022. The Daly City Police Department is committed to full participation, and we have been discussing and preparing for RIPA and its implementation for several years now. Within the last 6 months, we have selected technology for data collection. We have worked through procedural considerations. We have started department-wide training. While not required to collect data or report before January 1st of 2022, Daly City police officers have already started collecting data in the field with complete department participation expected within the next few weeks once all staff has been trained. By January of 2022, we will be compliant with the bill and should be proficient after working through any issues over the next 2 months. In July of 2021, the San Mateo County Grand Jury issued this report recommending city and county agencies in San Mateo County prepare for and incorporate software and policies for the collection and reporting of data as required by the Assembly bill. The grand jury request for response is October 27th, 2021, today. A draft response to this report has been submitted to council for review. If you would like, I can read the entire 4-page report, or if permitted and preferred, I can summarize our response, highlighting the RIPA specific content related to the grand jury report. Would you like the full report or summarize putting the highlights in our response? Mayor Manalo. Okay. So the civil grand jury report listed 8 findings and 8 recommendations. The response will be directed to Honorable Amara Lee, Judge of the Superior Court. Of the 8 findings, the city agreed with 6 of them. These findings were related to the awareness of the required date to start data collection, which was January 1st of 2022. The degree of understanding of RIPA requirements amongst all agencies within the county, which is outlined in the Assembly bill. Recognition of 2 agencies in the county that had publicly announced early implementation of RIPA collection at the time of the report. The fact that the San Mateo County Chiefs and Sheriff Association had a RIPA subcommittee for support for county agencies, and the level of understanding amongst county law enforcement agencies on RIPA board recommendations to build greater trust. And that between now and 2022, 16 law enforcement agencies have plans to analyze their RIPA data. There were 2 findings in the report that the city neither agreed nor disagreed with. The first finding noted that some law enforcement agencies mistakenly believe county dispatch will handle our RIPA data, for which Daly City understands is not the case, as collection and reporting is the responsibility of the individual agency. The other finding pertained to contract cities for the sheriff's office, for which we are not. Of the 8 recommendations, the city has already implemented 5 of them. These 5 recommendations are as follows. We must have an implementation plan by October 30th of 2021. We must acquire software and hardware by October 30th of 2021. We must test and confirm readiness for RIPA collection by November 30th of 2021. Provide regular updates to our governing entities of progress by October 15th, 2021. And by February 1st of 2022, consider community engagement and transparency with reported data. We have met or are meeting all of these recommendations as we have already begun the data collection and reporting prior to the identified dates, and we are working with our software vendor to analyze reporting capabilities from the submitted data. The city has not yet implemented, but will implement in the future the 3 remaining recommendations, which are as follows. On a quarterly basis and starting in the second quarter of 2022, provide and post on the city's website reports on RIPA data and how it is being used to address potential identity biases. By February 1st of 2022, begin considering how to obtain and use insights gained from RIPA data to improve operation of the department by combating implicit bias in policing. And in the second quarter of 2022, each contracting entity should be requesting RIPA stop data. We intend to work with our software provider to determine the scope of data extraction and reporting capabilities currently under development, allowing us to post that information to our police accountability section of the police department's website and utilize that information for internal awareness, supervisory oversight, and training improvements to enhance our service and provide a bias-free policing environment for our community. That concludes the summary of the grand jury response, as well as the conclusion of this presentation, and staff is available for any further questions by the council.
Thank you, Captain Christensen. I was trying to fidget with another device of mine to see whether or not that would be helpful. It did not work out earlier. So thank you for your presentation and in regards to this item and the implementation of the grand jury report and our written response in regards to it. At this juncture, is there any questions from my colleagues? I see no hands raised. And no questions from my colleagues, so thank you so much for your presentation. Now moving on to, is there a motion to approve the written response to the grand jury report?
Motion to approve written grand jury report.
Glenn Sylvester, I'll second.
Okay, and at this point, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Buenaventura,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye. Aye.
We're unable to hear you, Annette, if you're talking.
Ms. Giovanni,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye. Thank you very much. This item passes, and we are now moving on to item number 15. Where'd my agenda go?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. Tonight, I will be presenting on the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury Report entitled San Mateo County, California's Ground Zero for Sea Level Rise. And staff is recommending that you approve the draft written response and authorize the city manager to transmit the letter to the presiding judge of the Superior Court. Please note that we will be updating the date of the letter and date reference for the public meeting in which it was approved before we send it out. So this civil grand jury report included an analysis of the risk of sea level rise, and whether the San Mateo County Flood and Sea Level Rise Resiliency District, otherwise known as One Shoreline, which was established in 2020, was on course to adequately address the threat of sea level rise. The report notes that Bayside communities have billions of dollars of both residential and commercial property at risk, and that Pacific Coast communities like Daly City are also vulnerable to flooding and erosion from sea level rise. In general, the city agrees with the majority of the findings of the report, but significant concerns do remain regarding ongoing funding for One Shoreline and equity in the allocation of funding to sea level rise projects. Daly City currently pays the highest tier in contribution to One Shoreline, which uses a metric of population size to determine that contribution rate. And it does not incorporate a jurisdiction's sea level rise risk. Overall, Daly City faces less sea level rise risk and has a lower household income than the overwhelming majority of San Mateo County. So the city would seek to ensure that One Shoreline funding for projects is allocated with an equity-based approach so that Daly City residents are not paying more than their fair share for sea level rise projects in bayside jurisdictions that have permitted development in higher risk areas. Just want to let you all know, we fully recognize the importance of early planning and preparation for sea level rise. We have been actively involved with county-wide sea level rise efforts as well. We supported the formation of One Shoreline, and we, as I said, contribute at the highest contribution rate right now. So we do look forward to continuing our work with One Shoreline and engaging around the equity discussion and sustainable funding strategies. And we'd like to ensure that the city, being on the Pacific Coast, receives an appropriate level of investment in sea level rise projects that affect our important coastal assets, and namely the closed landfill at Mussel Rock. So I am available to provide any information, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Stephen, for your presentation. At this point, are there any questions from my colleagues? I see no hands raised at this time. I do have a question, Stephen, in regards to some of the projects you mentioned. Are there projects in the pipeline in which One Shoreline could assist us with?
There are no projects currently in Daly City that we are working with One Shoreline on. They do have a list of projects on their website that are underway. I think it's kind of from the past, and they're mostly in Bayside communities. So this is all just kind of, it started up only in 2020 last year. So this is, a lot of this sea level rise work is forward facing in the future.
Thank you. In your analysis, do you think there are ways that we can, bring forth some projects on our end towards One Shoreline? I mean, there aren't any currently, as you mentioned, as they just were created. It's just helpful to know maybe staff has recommendations, given the fact that we do contribute. Obviously, it's for a good cause around ensuring, we address the needs of our environment and climate change. But I'm just, looking out for us, Daly City. And so just wondering if there's any suggestions, or has staff looked at anything for
I'm going to take this, Stephen, or?
I'm happy to take it, or if you have any.
No, go ahead.
So one of the long-term projects that we'll definitely would like to collaborate with One Shoreline on is just management of the closed landfill at Mussel Rock. So that's one big one. That was an important asset that had been studied in the past through a countywide sea level rise kind of impact study. But in addition to that, there's also another part. As a city, we are subject to stormwater mitigation requirements, and those requirements increase over time, and they're unfunded mandates really from the state. Because One Shoreline is also the flood and sea level rise resiliency district, the city would like to see some of those stormwater projects potentially be included in a regional way through One Shoreline efforts. So that might be something else that we would be able to collaborate on.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? I see no hands raised at this time. I move to approve this item.
Second.
I have a second. May we have roll call, please?
Mr. Buenaventura,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Giovanni,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye. Thank you very much. Now moving on to the next item on our agenda, we usually have public appearances and oral communications, but now we will move on to city council report or. Are there any city council reports at this time? Council member Sylvester.
Thank you. I, first of all, would like to take the opportunity at this time to thank the public for providing their comments on the 699 Siramonte Del Rey project. The entire council has received these comments, and I want you to be sure that we will try to take and do our best to take all of them into deep consideration as we move forward. So I want to report that the mayor and I attended the recent Jefferson Union High School District 699 Siramonte Del Rey as a subcommittee member, along with other members of the school board and outside consultants and etc. So basically, I want to provide some information on my end that I ask, and I want to ensure everyone that there's two committees. One is the Jefferson Union High School District project, and the other is the affordable housing piece. So as I continue on, I will try to limit my information based on the project itself. I do have many questions on the affordable housing piece, to which that committee is going to be meeting very soon. First and foremost, I want to advise the public on the narrative of this project. I think the mayor alluded to it at the council meeting in regards to the teacher housing part. Even though this is a small part of the entire project, the teacher housing portion has already been approved. And of course, council definitely approved this project as well. And we would like to see the project continue as a result of the bonds. That's a done deal. So to try to incorporate teacher housing as a total of the whole project, all or none, is not the narrative here. The teacher project will and continue to move on. Okay, the first area of concern was the garden. I understand that the Ramaytush Ohlone tribe is claiming that they've taken care and manicured the garden, and that's what I received. But I also asked some questions to which entire council has received follow-up questions regarding some of my interrogatories as such. In regards to the garden, many years ago, they started out at approximately 13,000 square feet. And over the years, it has grown to 30,000 square feet. In the rendition that we all seen on Monday, the proposed new community garden is 1,300 square feet. So that's basically 1/10 the size of when the garden first started. I questioned about the EIR, and I asked about if the native tribes have received the ability to comment or to get involved with the EIR, and I was advised that they were given notice, but no tribe responded. So I asked for further documentation of that fact. I've asked for a parking demand study, and I received information regarding the parking demand and the estimated demand. Oh, by the way, I received about 100 pages worth of information. I've still yet to disseminate and go through it. In regards to the garden, I was concerned about how the school district came across this property, so I asked for a full and complete title search as well. In the area of PD 85, PD 85 indicates that any further development on this property, open space shall consist of 10.2 acres, residential 1.2 acres, office space 1.6, and streets and parking structures and general parking 9.3. So that's a total of 22 acres. And I was advised that this project is not in compliance with those standards. But I was also advised that the purpose of this application at this particular time is to change those standards. So I think the public needs to be aware. This is an application to change it, and that includes the different specification for the acreage involved. The rendition, and I did have this question and it has not been answered yet. The rendition shows that we will have a high-rise building. For those who may not be familiar, the high-rise is to be situated on either parcels D or F. However, they can make a change and change that high-rise to parcel E, which is in the middle. And the high rise is to be approximately 150 feet. The building of this high rise is going to block the views of those who live in the area. Let's see, I believe that's Callan Bull or St. Francis. And yet the topographical map, I think it's very reasonable in the sense to build. I think the area is an eyesore, but to have a high-rise building of at least 14 stories, I haven't found any 14-story buildings in Daly City, so I'm concerned about that. We also received a thought about the bicycle pedestrian lane that goes down Suramonte Boulevard from St. Francis. As you know, there will be an arterial stop sign at the freeway off-ramp and ingress to the freeway at the entrance of 699. But if you continue down Suramonte, parcel B will be a driveway for those tenants who will be living in parcel B. So there's a concern about that as well. Another question I had was EV charging infrastructure. And in perusing some of the responses, I do believe that they will have infrastructure for EV charging. Getting back to PD 85, apartment buildings are limited to 3 stories over a partially depressed garage. Office buildings, and in this particular case, there will be no office buildings, are limited to 6 stories along Callan Boulevard, increasing to a maximum of 12 stories at the center of the project. And office buildings are to be built along the eastern edge of the site to take advantage of views. So there's a lot more, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to find out, such as additional property owned by the school district. I haven't seen any financial information that has been provided as to the estimated revenue or income to come as a result. And I'm still a little leery of the actual carbon footprint that this project will provide. So I think I've covered most of it. I think I've said enough. And unless the mayor has something that I may have missed out on, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester. You know, there was a lot of questions brought forth and to the committee and that you mentioned in the Jefferson Union High School District subcommittee. And I think, you know, in proposing their changes, I think I echo what you mentioned, that the Jefferson Union High School staff was something separately approved. I mean, we all approved that in January of 2020. We see it has erected, and the completion of it is anticipated for spring of 2022. And so when it's mentioned that it's part of the affordable housing, I think that's something that needs to be clarified, because that in itself, we actually approved prior to this development precise plan. I think that's some of the issues and items that we need to discuss further. We did not, so for the public, we were not able to meet. There is on here, if you look at the document, it says that there was affordable housing meeting, but unfortunately, due to the time constraint, we were in the Jefferson Union High School District Subcommittee when the district proposed their plan. And so that took some time. And as mentioned, we look forward to meeting with the district to discuss, the affordable housing plan, the below market rate units, and really how important it is, to look at the policies that we have already and see how that all interfaces. And that takes some time to do so, because, we need to look at this closely. And I think that if anything, it's just being able to have more discussion and conversation forthcoming. Is there any other questions on this item? I think one piece of it was in regards to the plan was understanding why the certain where the open spaces were in regards to the site, and where they put the green spaces. And I think they mentioned that it was on kind of, some of them are in the center, but one is right next to parcel B on the right side of parcel B. And so I think there's also just hearing from the staff when we do meet on the subcommittee in regards to what I mentioned. How does this work with our current below market rate program that we have in place? So there is definitely more discussion to have, and we'll update the public when we do meet with the school district in that regard. Is there any other committee meetings? No? So no other committee meetings. Let us move on to city council reports. Oh, before we go on to city council reports, sorry, council member Sylvester, there is a attachment that is for the Jefferson Union High School Council Committee in regards to the affordable housing. But like I said, we're going to be meeting on that. But that I just noticed that was on the agenda. But we were unable to meet, and so therefore we'll be meeting For City Council, Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to advise the public at this particular time that, first of all, thank you to Captain Christensen for your report this evening on RIPA. A lot of things have been going on in Daly City PD, and I feel it's good. So the last council meeting, I had requested an update on the body cameras, and I received some very favorable information, but I think we should wait for the report from the police department. I don't want to give it out, but in a nutshell, things have been moving along greatly, and I'm very optimistic that to hear the report that will be forthcoming. So that's all I have at this time. Thank you. And this is on the officer body cameras.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester, for that and for your inquiry in regards to the body worn cameras. I think that it is definitely important for the public to know that, as you mentioned, there will be a report coming through. But if the body cameras are implemented already, that the public should know that it's actually already in place. And so in that regard, I know last time we got word from City Manager Maltby that October 18th was when the cameras go live. And so in that regard, I think the public should know that it went live. And so I want to thank all the staff that has worked on this very diligently, and would confer with City Manager Maltby that it is correct that October 18th was when the cameras went live.
That is exactly correct. Yes, it went live last week.
Thank you very much. And so I'm sure that's something the public would like to know, and there is a report forthcoming at the next council meeting. Ms. Maltby, there should be a report the next council meeting.
So that's part of my report out. It will actually be the second meeting in November, November 22nd, just to give them a little bit more time. We could probably, they would probably ready be this for the first meeting in November, but the second meeting is ideal. And, you know, without getting into heavily into my report, it was a great effort by both POA. They've expedited the process. Usually it's a pretty lengthy meet and confer process to agree upon policy. And then obviously our management staff in PD really got it going quickly. So, you know, I can double check with Acting Chief Gomez and Captain Christensen to see if they can maybe do it at the first meeting in November, but for sure we'd be ready by November 22nd.
Thank you very much. Are there any city council reports at this time? I do want to say happy Filipino American History Month. It was amazing to see kasayahan virtually and the staff continually to do, you know, being able to share and now provide programming globally, right, through Humo and through YouTube. So thank you for that. I recently we were able to join South San Francisco in the renaming of Westboro Community Center, although it's not in the jurisdiction of Daly City. Tita Alice Bulos was definitely a community leader across the Bay Area, across California and the nation. And so seeing the family there and being able to celebrate her during Filipino American History Month was something very special. Also wanted to say big congratulations to the Bayshore community. It was a phenomenal event that happened at the Bayshore School, and you definitely, it was filled with so many families, a lot of vendors, music, just really an event that, a block party that you definitely would enjoy, and also notice that there was also a lot of our city departments that were there. So I want to thank the city departments that were there and was able to provide a booth. I noticed that there was the firefighters and the police or POA or whatnot that was there to table. And so also Fresca was the MC, and it was just, you saw people coming back to Bayshore that went to school there. You saw current children going to Bayshore. I mean, it was like a reunion, and then it was also for the kids that currently go there and family members. So very big congratulations on that. Also wanted to mention that it's like, that was just last week, right? That was on the, yeah, that was last week. Oh my goodness. Also, Undiscovered SF was happening, and there was, community business mixer in regards to supporting and how you're able to really incubate businesses and small businesses. So that was really amazing to see at that event. And that was also the very same day. Am I missing? Let's see. Oh, I also wanted to say wonderful work to the staff that provided the thank you taco truck lunch for the employees. I was unable to make it, but I am sure it was a success. And that's just really wonderful to see that it's, a token of thankfulness to all the hard work that our staff and employees have been doing for the past year. I see hands raised, and I will hand it over to Council Member DiGiovanni, and then it will be Vice Mayor Das Magawal.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo that, as you said, it was for the Filipino heritage and the history. I call it both because people use both terms at different events, but it transcends both. And being that we had our own here, which was fabulous, but the Bayshore School itself, when you went inside, had a celebration of the Filipino History Month. And it had many, many things that went back and explained things of the history. And then I forgot to bring the shirt. I believe Rod got one for his son as well. They even created a shirt, the Bayshore School, in bright colors. And I had the Bayshore at the top with the logo and with the big celebration. It was really beautiful to transcend that. And at the Bayshore Block Party as well, the children created T-shirts And one of the children created a t-shirt and it was about family. And it was a drawing on their own. So I thought it was really beautiful and people came from everywhere. They were Bayshore people, but then Bayshore people reached out to other people. And I have to thank the Bayshore PTO, Arnold, the president, all the families that worked so hard, the school board, which was fabulous with Teresa Fapua, Joy, Rudolph, and everyone, Rick, and Cecil. And then Cecil retired recently, but he was there with his wife, Dorothy. So that was another thing that we attended. And that block party had everyone there. Everyone. It was a hot day, but beautiful, with our police, our fire, as you said, the vendors, the Pacific Islanders were there, Vibes and Smile, everybody was there. Vendors, food everywhere of all kinds, celebrating cultures. There was Polynesian dancing. There was great performers from every cultural background you can imagine. So very well done and looking forward to next year. Also, when you were speaking of in South City, I'd like to thank the South San Francisco City Council and their city manager as well, the mayor and vice mayor, for inviting our council over to celebrate the life and legacy of Alice Bolos. And they named their Westboro because she lived in that neighborhood. It was right across, like even a few blocks where it sits. It's her neighborhood. So they were really excited and very humbled to be there. And the way they had it done was very tasteful, with speakers, and then with the grandchildren, Charles and the other granddaughter. So I thought that was beautifully done, and the Consul General as well, of course, and the Mayor Diego, and Council Member Flor Nicholas, who is the first Filipina on their council. So, and Martin Nagels will be sworn in later as mayor, but it was a beautiful celebration. A lot of faces we hadn't seen in a while that came from different counties just for that purpose. So that was very nice to actually see a lot of people in person that we hadn't had. Tastefully done, and thank you again to South San Francisco Council and to the city for celebrating Alice Bolos and in her memory. So I believe that's all for this now, and thanking the employees, not just for the taco truck. I know I heard it was great, and they had like actually fat tacos, city manager in Leilani. I heard they were pretty thick. So they were very happy about that. And it was like the token, they got to go outside and get the food and go back in, and been working under such terrific, unprecedented conditions. And to see them smile when they came out was very nice. And they felt appreciated, and I thought it was a great idea. Thanks to, I'm sure it was HR and Shauna and Leilani and Steven, probably they came up with all this together to appreciate them. And I thought it was a great idea. And anything we can do to appreciate them, and the department heads, they had their own appreciation in each department. I thank the city manager for allowing that. And each one got to have their own individual. So that was fabulous. So thank you all. And we don't get a chance to thank all of you, but also Rose as well. So thank you to all of you as well. That's it. Thank you, Mayor. I'll save the rest for next meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Magwal.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a couple of announcements for a couple of community events that are happening. So one event that's coming up is the Daly City Public Library Associates. They're putting together a used book sale. And it's going to be, there's a few dates. This Saturday and Sunday, October 30th and 31st, and next Saturday and Sunday, November 6th and 7th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So DCPLA, they'll be putting together, let's see, what time will that start? So they said the event starts from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they have a variety of gently used books at great prices. And best of all the proceeds will go towards the Daly City libraries. And if you are interested in donating, sponsoring, or volunteering, please contact the wonderful DCPLA Director, Victoria Magbilang, at info@dcpla.org to make arrangements. And my second announcement is the Westlake School of Performing Arts is putting together their annual Halloween extravaganza this Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. Tickets are on sale, and in order to get tickets, you could email wspaa@sbcglobal.net. WSPA is located at 200 Northgate Avenue in Daly City, California. Please check it out. And shameless plug, but my daughter's performing. So if you want to go check her out and see her dance, or not, yeah, singing, I think, come and check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Dasmagwal. Are there any other hands for city council reports? I see no other hands. I do want to mention that I also attended Cecil Owens' his retirement. He has served on the Bayshore School Board for 42 years. And that is pretty amazing. I mean, that I think is definitely well-deserved retirement, and was able to attend their school board meeting, his very last school board meeting, in which he was honored. But that, in that regard, 42 years is older than I. And so, I mean, that just shows how much dedication he has over the course of many years, and he will not stop. He's just probably retiring from that role, but you know that he is a continued community advocate in the Bayshore.
Yes.
Also wanted to share with the public that we had sent out a letter to the redistricting commission to let them know that Daly City should remain whole as in that redistricting. I think it's very important that our community remains in one district, and we should not be split. And so wanted to share that also. And then I've also created a subcommittee for city council policy. It was something that was recommended, and so that's a subcommittee that will be engaged in looking further around city council policy in that regard. So thank you very much. And now, are there any staff reports? And I think Ms. Maltby, you have a report this evening. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. This will be brief, Madam Mayor and Council. So since we're talking about staff and sort of their hard work, and yes, those the taco truck was amazing. I had a taco bowl. It was lovely. But the staff worked so hard over the weekend, especially during that storm, which was intense. And we came out of it fairly unscathed. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to, especially those that were on call, water, wastewater employees. I think fire, PD, public works, they were all kind of working extra hard over the weekend. I was providing you sort of play by play over the weekend. So thank you for that. We do have, some things out of our control, like the lights that are responsible by Caltrans. But even in those situations, staff is on it and contacts Caltrans and tries to stay ahead of it. So just wanted to report out on that. And then the second item is just related to ARPA, or the American Relief Plan Act. You may recall that in July of this year, this past summer, staff did a presentation on what the Relief Act is and some recommendations, and we had a town hall that allowed for public comment and input. And then after that input, council had their own feedback and questions. Staff has been following the Relief Plan Act very closely. Our finance department is following it closely. The regulations tend to change periodically, but we think we've nailed it. And we will be providing an updated presentation at the November 22nd meeting. And we will have a smorgasbord of things for the council to take a look at. And like I said, it incorporates the things that the public spoke about in July, as well as the council feedback. So we're looking forward to presenting that, because it's not very often that we are able to, present funding to the council that they get to choose, very important programming, community programming. So we look forward to that.
Thank you, Ms. Maltby, on that. And that's very much grateful for all the hard work of all the staff over the storm. I think there was definitely floods, and I mean, that is not our jurisdiction, but I know there was a sinkhole on the freeway. I mean, it's not, Caltrans is in charge of that, but it's to say the least that it's so important that during these times where there can be situations that all the staff are on hands on deck. And so thank you, Ms. Maltby, and thank you to all of the staff that really, made sure that we were all safe during, what do they call it? The atmospheric river, right? and so I know we needed the rain, so that was good, but it definitely was all at one time. So thank you so much. And also looking forward to the staff presentation in regards to the recovery funds from the federal government. And do you know when that would be ready for us to convene on? Is it in the first meeting in November, or will staff be ready in the second?
Yeah, so we will be presenting on November 22nd, and if the council is feeling comfortable with the information, and it'll be the second time you've seen most of the information, it'll be ready for adoption, and so we could use the funding immediately after that meeting. But yeah, the November 22nd meeting is ideal. Again, we could push it, but we just met on it this morning and felt more comfortable with the 22nd date.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Di Giovanni.
No, I'm sorry. I put it up prematurely to the next. I was just going to say I'm going to continue the anything else, the adjournment and everything, because I know that I think Dr. Rod has a hard stop at 6:30. Is that correct, Vice Mayor? Yeah, I'll just continue the adjournment next time. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
So you will continue your okay.
Yeah,
Your adjournment.
yeah, because he has a hard stop. Out of respect. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other reports for council? I think we're done with that. I think the adjourn in memory. I do have one adjourn in memory for this evening, and we'll get that shortly. It will not be lengthy. This is for Marie's grandmother, who passed away just recently, actually today. And so in honor of her, it's Diane Lynn Stevens. and she went to United States in 1970, and she became blind until her death. But her family says that she is now rejoicing with Jesus. And she was brought to the States by her brother. Then she petitioned Marie's mother, and Marie was brought here when she was 8 years old. And so to both Tita Beth and Marie, deep condolences, and we send our condolences to your family. So with that, just a quick moment of silence and for her grandmother. Thank you so much. Everyone take care.